Hello, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Can you see me or hear me?
I can hear you, Retta. I don't see your face.
Okay, there
There
we go.
we go.
Give me 1 minute. I need to go into these settings, video settings. Here we go. Oh, it's there. Okay, it's working.
Yes, and I'm just gonna put us. There we go. And I think I need to pin us as well. Let's see.
And
Oh,
there's
no.
other people coming too, right? There's two more people coming.
Actually, the other we will see. They're supposed to be. I know one person is not able to who was going to be joining us.
Okay.
So we will see how it goes.
Okay.
But we will get started for the sake of time. So, welcome everyone as you come into the room. I am so excited to have you here. If you have been here before, you know this is our monthly virtual support group where we talk about one, we just come together because we all share a similar space of caregiving or supporting caregivers. And then we typically have various topics that we discuss. And tonight, this one I'm really excited about because it is about assisted living. And in our group, as you know, if you're in our Facebook group, we are up to around 4,000 people, and so often, across the board, many people are asking, is it time to relocate my loved one? If so, what are some things I should think about? There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, and understandably so. So I am excited about tonight's conversation because we are fortunate to have a true guru expert in that space who can give some tips, guidance, also talk about her what she does, and especially if you're in the, I want to say, Virginia area,
Mhm.
you can utilize the services. But certainly I'm going to go ahead, and for the sake of time, Miss Retta, can you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am truly honored to be here. My name is Retta Young. I am the owner and senior living advisor for a company called Assisted Living Locators. What we do is we help seniors and caregivers find housing in assisted living, memory care, and independent living communities. We are your personal concierge. Our services are at no charge to families. Where then we give you free consultation, we give you free tours, we do free assessments, we do also a 10-year budget, a 5-year or 10-year budget. We look at your income and determine how much you will need or how much, based on the your budget, how much you can afford, because that's a huge thing. People, number one, can they afford it? Number two, will they have enough money to cover it? And so they're always concerned about that. And so that's a top thing we do for free. We go over that with you. We also try to find other resources to help you pay for it based on your income and what you currently have in place. And then we also provide additional services or resources like legal advice. We have people we collaborate with legal. We collaborate with real estate agents, moving companies, various doctors in the field. We work with skilled nursing facilities. We can refer those to you, the ones that we are aware of in our area, because I cover Virginia. And so my territory, because this is a franchise that I own, my territory is from Lorton out towards Fauquier County, all the way down through Prince William, Stafford, Fredericksburg, all the way out towards Culpeper, and then out towards Queen Anne, or some people may know King George County. So I cover a large territory. I do have people who help me. And so if you reach out to me, we are always here to help you. We respond within 24 hours. Again, we are your personal concierge. So we do all the work so you don't have to. And then we will send pictures and videos based on your needs and we'll negotiate prices as well. Try and get it as low as possible. My middle name is Cheap Willie. So I am always trying to find the lowest price because I want your dollars to stretch. This particular industry is not cheap. And in the state of Virginia, it can be very costly. There are other states that are much more affordable, and we also can recommend other locations as well outside of Virginia if that is the need. And we have, because of the franchise, I have over 140 brothers and sisters in various states that can help me find you a new place.
Wow. That is huge. Very, very huge. And we're going to get into this conversation. And if this is not your first time joining us, always you can put things in the chat. You can come off camera, jump in. This really is meant to be a conversation and a space, you know. And I want to start off by addressing, when we talk about caregiving and assisted living, it's one thing when it's because someone is getting older, right? But we're here because of the added layer of a dementia related illness. And
Mhm,
that takes things to just the next level, right? Because not
mhm,
only are you trying to determine if you need to relocate your loved one, but because they may not be, they may be dealing with the cognitive issues and decline, it becomes even more important that you find some place, if this is the route you want to go, that you find some place that you can feel good about. So many
mhm,
times in our group and when I meet with people, that's their biggest fear. No one can take care of my loved one like I can, but as we mentioned, in one of the recent groups that we did, how caregiver burnout and caregiver illness, especially
mhm,
for taking care
mhm,
of loved ones with dementia related illness, is getting worse and worse. So let's
mhm,
open up the conversation. Let's first talk about some of the fears. So Miss Retta, I know in doing this
mhm,
work, you hear all of the fears, right? You hear
mhm.
the concerns. So can you talk about a couple of the top ones that people are usually really afraid of? Let's address those.
Okay, so as we know of with dementia, family members, those who are diagnosed with severe dementia, let's say, for instance, from a level 3 on up to a 7, right? They have a tendency of wandering, and families don't know where they are. They have senior alerts that go out with police. So because the family has been going through this for so long, when I take them on tours, they're always concerned about mom and dad getting lost and who's going to be there to go find them and how they keeping an eye on them. Many of those communities for memory care are secured uh, facilities, and so there's alarms on the door, there's alarms on the windows. They have more CNAs, which is certified nursing assistants, in that area than they do in assisted living
Mm-hmm.
because they need to keep their eyes on them, especially if they are those who are tendency of walking off. And so many of them will have bracelets or a necklace on that lets them know. Certain facilities use those to let them alert them that they've gone through the front door or they've walked out somewhere. I have gone into communities, and I kid you not, memory care. This is just memory care. And there was one particular time I was walking, doing a tour, because I go out and tour the communities. So anything I refer to you, I have to have seen that place. And so I was taking a tour with the sales representative, and I saw a couple sitting on the couch. And the gentleman, I guess I'm bad at telling ages.
Oh, your
And
volume
watching
went.
TV.
There you go.
Okay, he was sitting on the couch talking to her, and she was wrapping things up, and we were heading to the door. As soon as she unlocked the door, he was standing behind us. And I looked over because he was standing over her shoulder. He says, "Okay, can you just let me out for 1 minute?" And she said, "No, I can't let you out. You have to stay in. We're gonna have lunch soon. Go have a seat." Get out the door for a minute. And I'm looking because I thought he was there visiting a family member. And
Yeah.
so this happens quite a bit where dementia can go so many different ways. I've had situations where I've gone into memory care and I saw a lady walking by fully dressed like she was going to work. And I thought she was there visiting a family member, and come to find out she had dementia. And not until we really started talking, I realized she started repeating the same thing over and over, but she was fully dressed like she was heading out the door. So families are very concerned about their family members escaping, or for lack of better words, or walking away and getting lost. And so that's a high thing for them safety.
Yeah.
Also, as they decline further and further, another issue they're concerned about is their eating or
Mhm.
lack of. Um, Unfortunately, about 2 months ago, it was in February, about 2 days after my birthday, one of my first clients that I placed late last year, he just stopped eating. And when I went to go see him and I was talking to him, he was actually the baby brother. He was the
Mm.
baby brother. There's three of them, three siblings. And the oldest brother is taking care of him and his sister. And his sister has dementia, and his brother, his baby, with dementia. And it's astonishing to see him hold it all together. But the fact that he has daughters and grandkids, that keeps him going as well. But to see his baby brother in this condition, in this state, and when I talked to his baby brother, and he wasn't eating as much, or he would just eat cheese. And so they were giving him cheese. And so they were giving him so much cheese that his brother told him, stop feeding him so much cheese, give him something else. And so you have to monitor things like that, with the facilities, to make sure they don't overdo things. They want to help, but there'd be some common sense in this whole conversation, right? And
Yeah.
so while I was there, he just gave me hope one day, because I said to him, his name, he was just sitting so he was so adorable. And I said, Tom, we're waiting for you. And he
Mm.
looked at me. I said, we're waiting for you to come back and look. And I said, so you're going to come back soon? And he just, and that, I felt like a peace was in my heart, because can you imagine how many days his brother's been waiting just to hear that one response from him, just for a
Wow.
minute? And like I said, he started, he stopped eating for a while, and they were trying to get him to eat. And then he was sitting up for a long time in the lounge area. And then next thing I know, he ended up staying in bed longer. And then the decline went even faster, and he passed away. But
Mm.
his sister was also has dementia. She's in another state, and he said that she was declining as well. But
Yeah.
I think, thank God that he has his daughters and his grandkids and, son-in-laws that keep him motivated. But it's something to walk into a memory care and you see so many people affected by this disease.
Yeah.
And to see their loved ones coming in as a peace of mind. What hurts the most is when I see seniors there who don't have anyone. These are what they call solo seniors. And some are lucky enough to get like case managers or care managers. Some of them, they call them care managers. Some of them have financial advisors. I have a whole new respect for Merrill Lynch. They really treat their clients that they've had for over 20 years like family. They really do. Some of these financial advisors, I have to say, really do take their job serious and treat them like family. And
Yeah.
so they look into all that care and getting all their documentation in place, power of attorney. Some of them become power of attorneys because they don't
Yeah.
have anyone else to do that. And I've seen some things that, made me nervous. And I put out videos to address power of attorneys. How do you choose them? How a number one thing is you need to have a list of questions if you're going to choose, especially when you're a solo senior. And
Yeah.
you're going to have something like major surgery or something like that, and you're not able to really manage things while you're in recovery. It's good to have a power of attorney, but you need to make sure you have they're on the same page with you. And so I created questionnaires for them to interview them the right way to make sure that they're in line, in line with what you want done. Because I've seen
Yeah.
some horror stories.
And I appreciate the candidness because
Mm-hmm.
when I talk about how people are afraid and they're nervous about, should I take my loved one to a facility? Should I relocate?
Mm-hmm.
There
Mm-hmm.
is reason for concern in some instances, right? So I think, you do want to be cautious. Because just like with anything, there's good out there and there's not so good. So, what are some things if a person, well, let me backtrack too. So, this weekend, I was at an event, and what one of the ladies shared, which I thought was so beautifully put, is that if you're struggling to take care of your loved one and
Mm-hmm.
you find that you're and we see it all the time in our Facebook group, right? Where people are tired and they're burnt out and they're angry and
Mm-hmm.
they're frustrated. That might be the time where you ask yourself, if number one, can I continue to maintain this? Number
Mm-hmm.
two, what can I do to get back to some level of the relationship I had with my loved one before this illness? And what somebody shared this weekend is that choosing to relocate them to an assisted living place, memory care, in many cases can allow you to get back to the role that you had with them, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
when you are their spouse or their daughter or their sibling, you almost lose that identity with them. One, because the dementia is impacting their memory, but also because your role becomes so different. I know in the case
Mm-hmm.
of my mom, one, she often thinks I'm her sister, but you do have to
Mm-hmm.
almost become like this parent to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
so when you do choose to relocate them to a specific place, you can almost trust that somebody else now can take the dirty work, so to speak, right? They can be responsible for the changing and the keeping them clean and all of that. And you get to come in and kind of rekindle that role that you truly should have with them,
Right, right.
right?
The real nurturing one. Right.
Yeah.
So, that's interesting you brought that up. I have a client, for instance, that I placed recently. She took a educational tour with me last year. She, her, let's just say her name is Mary, right?
Right.
Her mom is Miss Judy, period. Miss Judy used to be a school teacher, and she raised, was it four children, right? And now she has three sons and one daughter. Who do you think is doing the most work? The daughter, right?
Hmm.
And mind you, the daughter's the youngest. And I've
Yeah.
heard this. Now some people may say, no, that's not true. I'm the son and I do everything. God bless you. But I have seen a large percentage of it is usually the daughter or the daughter-in-law. Okay,
Mhm.
I've seen that too. However, what I'm getting at is that they are a very close-knit family. They are from the islands, very close-knit family. The daughter is a nurse, and Miss Judy used to be a school teacher. And when you meet Miss Judy, honey, she is no joke. She still talks like she's talking to 5-year-old kids, right?
Yeah.
And so she was Judy was living with Mary for a very long time. Mary was taking care of her, and she called me early this year. It's getting to the point I can't function and take care of my home, my life, and work, and take care of my mom too. I I love her enough that I need to find a place where she can grow and I can grow too. And
Mhm.
so um I helped her find a community, right?
Mhm.
And I said to her, I said, well, before you pick this place out, maybe you should talk to your brothers. She said, wait a minute. She says, I'm the one handling all this. I have the power of attorney. Um, this is where we're going. And I said, well, you always want all family buy-in, so there's no family dynamic. I've seen some dynamics, okay? And I'm putting the word dynamic out there. You can use the other words. And so I've seen some fireworks because they didn't get all the input. Even though she does 90% of the work, the sons want input too. And
Yeah.
so she said as soon as the brother came from New York, I'm buying a house and I'm moving mom back to the islands and we're doing it. And she said, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Go. And that was just a part of the whole situation. But
Mm-hmm.
and then they go to the community and some of them was like, I don't like this, I don't like that. And she started setting things up and they said this was the best decision ever. And
Yeah.
so here she was having her 79th birthday, and I went to it, and family flew in from all over for her birthday. And her daughter went and picked her up from the community. You can always go get your parents. You don't put them in and leave them. Okay,
Right.
that is not the situation. The communities have an open door policy for the children to and family members to come in, visit them, be with them, talk to them. You need to continue to do that, especially in memory care. And she has the daughter also, some communities will allow you to install cameras, and the daughter
Mm.
has a camera so she can see her mom and how she's doing, how they're taking care of her, even when she's a nurse. And
Yeah.
she said to me, I didn't want people to know I was a nurse. Oh no, I wanted them to know you was a nurse. So
That's
they
right.
understand when they say something or recommend something, they need to double check before they. And she's like, well, I was just checking. I said, no, no. They need to know I want all my clients to get top-notch service. And
Yeah.
so, and I let them know I will pop up unannounced too to see how they're
Mm-hmm.
doing. And she said, oh, Miss Reddy, you have pop. I said, yeah, I do. I pop it every now and then. I'm not going to tell you when I'm showing up. I want to see how they're doing. And so she had the birthday celebration. It was so beautiful, right? She didn't really remember that it was her 79th birthday, and they would continually tell her. And every now and then something would come back. Her grandkids were there, her sisters were there. They all came and they flew in from New York, from the islands, everywhere to be with
Mm.
her for her 79th birthday. And her daughter, brought her in and everything. But I could see her daughter was not as tense, not as stressed. Um, she was happy,
Yeah.
that she could come home and there wasn't a lot of, okay, I just got off from work here. Now I got to start this job. And she used to tell me, she said, I would come home and Miss Judy would walk around with this walker. And I told her, I said, well, we should get a wheelchair. No, let her walk. She needs to walk.
Yeah.
She needs to get the exercise. And I said, well, because I saw Miss Judy like limping a little bit. She said, let me tell you something. I will come home and go upstairs and lay in my bed, and my mother will come up those steps and sit at the end of the bed. I said, Miss Judy can climb steps. She says, yes, she can climb steps. So there was things I didn't know Miss Judy was doing because,
Yeah.
she had me thinking she couldn't move. And
Yeah.
so now I go to the community. Miss Judy's teaching the kids, which they're adults, but she's
Yeah.
talking to the kids, and the aides love her. The aides
Yeah.
love her. They love talking to her. They treat her like family. And
Yeah.
so we walk and we hear her around the corner talking to them. And no, you didn't finish your breakfast, so you got to sit there and finish. And I said, Miss, are you in there bossing people around? And
Oh,
so
yeah.
yeah, so I saw how she was blossoming, and the
Yeah.
daughter gets a piece of mind. And trust me, just because her mom is there, oh, Mary's there every day, just
Yeah.
about checking on her mom. Okay,
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
sure she's okay. Any issues, we make a phone call. And I
Yep.
talk to the executive director, not the
Yeah.
sales, not the CNAs. I want to make sure the medication's right, everything is going smoothly. So yeah,
Yeah.
you honestly, I feel that you're showing more love because you are getting them the help they need. Now,
Yeah.
there are some memory care facilities that are extremely expensive, but I've seen some miracle things happen. If anyone's ever heard of Silverado Memory Care, it's out in Alexandria, Virginia.
Hmm.
That it has a waiting list to get in there. And
Wow.
I'm talking top-notch type of work. That's the best way to say it. I don't want to say
Hmm.
experiment, but work.
Yeah.
The seniors that I saw, I couldn't even tell they had dementia or
Wow.
Alzheimer's because of advanced. type of work they're doing with them. I'm not sure all of it, but they have some top-notch doctors there. They do a lot of studies and research with them. Their physical therapy and occupational therapy is a little bit more heightened. I'm not sure how many of you have ever heard of the Magic Box.
Hmm.
It's like you remember memory cards where you would
Yeah.
pick the cards and you flip them over and try to match and remember
Yeah.
where the cards were. So they
Yeah.
have it's called well, the nickname is called the Magic Box, and it's up in the ceiling. They're pretty expensive, but they have all kinds of games for seniors who have memory impairment. And
Hmm.
they do all kinds like leaves and numbers and even reading and videos to help
Yeah.
them. And now what I noticed when I went to Insight Memory Care, it's a day program. They're now incorporating those binocular glasses that you put over, what is it called? AI something. Some of y'all may your kids like it. I think it costs
Oh
like
yeah, like virtual reality type.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you put the glasses on. So I've noticed they've incorporated that a lot with the seniors who have dementia. And
Yeah.
there's another thing that they were doing. Oh, I actually took a little workshop that helps you experience what some of the things they're going through. And that
Yeah.
was very eye-opening to me.
Yeah.
It's very hard for them to concentrate sometimes. It's very hard for them to see. I remember someone said that my mom, since she's had dementia, she only speaks Korean now. So we
Yeah.
need to find a place where they speak Korean. I said, well, I'm going to be honest with you. We don't have a lot of those. However, we do have translator boxes and little phones and things like that. I said, but I have seen it in communities where this has happened. I
Yeah.
literally saw a lady walking through and she was speaking another language and was
Yeah.
just talking to us regularly, but she was speaking another language.
Yeah.
And
Because
so
they
that
go.
happens.
Yeah, that's part of the illness. At times, they can go back to that for their first language.
Hmm.
Because remember, it's that those oldest memories, that's kind of where they go back to. But you brought up something that I do want to address because, and again, I do want to pause. If you have any questions, comments, you can leave it in the chat or just feel free to,
Hmm.
uh, come off camera, jump in the conversation. If you have questions, one of the things that I think we need to call out, and that is there are places that do not respect our seniors, right? We hear of the horror stories where they haven't been taking care of them. So we
Hmm.
don't want to pretend like those things don't happen. So,
Hmm.
in your experience, if someone is, whether they're here now or watching this later, if they're considering taking their loved one to a facility, what would
Hmm.
you say are some things that they can look out for to determine, is this place a safe place for my loved one, that
Hmm.
they will get the proper care they need? What would be kind of like your top list of things?
So I tour a lot of communities, and the first thing I do when I walk in the door is to see if the staff is attentive. Are they speaking to me? Are the CNAs recognizing the seniors that are walking down the hall? Are they friendly? I've gone to communities, really nice looking buildings, and I was walking with the sales rep, and a lady was in the hallway in her wheelchair, and we walked past her, and she was taking me in a room, and we had to be in at least 15, 20 minutes, and she was still out in the hallway. And so I said to her, I said, hey, we were walking past her. I said, well, what about this lady here? Oh, it's okay. The CNA are coming in. I said, it's been 30 minutes almost. I think you need to get her and we need to take her down the hall here because she's calling out and no one obviously is coming. And so just because it's shiny and pretty doesn't mean that it's the best place.
Yeah,
I want to, that's the first thing. Don't ever
yeah,
think just because it's real nice and pretty that that's the right facility for your parents. I have had clients say, oh, I want to go in this place because they have floor to ceiling windows. Your parents are in memory here. Okay.
yeah,
How much do you think they're going to care about floor to ceiling windows?
yeah,
So it's not about the aesthetics, it's about the care, the quality of care. And so I'm always looking at how the nurses are interacting with the clients. Are they getting their medication? I have a tendency of looking in other people's rooms because they're supposed to get their rooms cleaned.
Yep.
They're supposed to have their laundry cleaned by that facility. Okay. And so I'm always looking to see, is the room clean? When I walk into a facility, I'm always looking to see, do I smell anything? If I smell a lot of urine, okay, that's fine. We have accidents, it's called incontinence, that's fine. But if I leave and I come back 3 days later and there's still some urine smell going on up in here, there's
Uh-huh.
something going on. And if I leave and come back 2, 3 weeks later and there's still some smells going on in here,
Yep.
there's a sanitary issue going on. Okay.
Yeah.
I also pay attention when I walk through the dining hall. There are some, especially in the memory care area, who cannot feed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So I'm paying attention to who's being attentive to make sure they're eating their food because
Yep.
they need to eat that food in order to take their medication. You
Yeah.
have some seniors who are taking upwards of 28 pills a day.
Wow.
And so they have some of them, even us that's on medication. Eat it with food, eat it without food, eat it before breakfast, eat it at dinner time, eat it at midnight. Take this pill.
Yeah.
Medication management in senior facilities is a serious situation.
Yeah.
And it's costly
Yep.
because they have to make sure that seniors are taking their medication. I was in a skilled nursing facility visiting a client, and a lady came into his room and said to me, she was a resident, she was a patient there. And she said, no one has given me my pills. And she handed me this paper and said, the doctor says I'm supposed to take this pill at 6 a.m. And then the
Wow.
next pill she's supposed to take like 6 p.m. or 6:30. It was already after 10 a.m.
Wow.
And so I said to her, I said, okay, let's go down here and talk to the nurse. When I went, this is a skilled nurse, it's not an assisted living community. I went to the nurse and it was a male nurse. And I said to him, excuse me, but this lady says that she was supposed to take a medicine at 6 o'clock. Now, either he knows that she's taking it and she's just mistaken, or he's going to be attentive and check this out. He says, well, that was the night shift that was supposed to give her the pill. I'm the day
Mm-mm.
shift. That's exactly what he said. He's the day shift.
Wow.
And I said, where's the nurse?
Yep.
Because obviously we're not concerned.
Yep.
I've gone into communities and um, when I visit my clients, I sometimes have a tendency, I talk to their roommates if they have a roommate. And one lady said, I've been sitting in this soiled diaper for over an hour and no one has come to change me. And I said, one moment. And I went down the hall because the nurses were in at the front station, all having a conversation. So
Yeah.
those are things I look for. Um, I've been in conversations with seniors and I'm just listening to some of the things they're saying. And one lady, I said, oh, what did you think about so and so facility? Oh, my girlfriend stays there. Now I'm at a high school event and they asked all small businesses to come to it. And so she was walking through with her grandkids and I introduced myself and I said, oh, what do you think about so-and-so facility down the street? She said, oh, my girlfriend's there. She's diabetic and they gave her orange juice one day.
Mm.
And I said, oh, okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
I pay attention to these things. Family members, you can actually go on the website, the Department of Health for Virginia Department of Health, and there's a section in there where you can check on if they have any violations, health violations. Now, read them carefully because in the state, I have to give the state of Virginia, at least this area, I have to give them credit. The DMV area, they are really strict
Mm-hmm.
on these communities.
Yeah.
And you need to read the violations because some of those violations you have to take it up like what? I read where they had filed a claim against one community because the I think it was the sales director was carrying a report case records and she was walking past the laundry room and she noticed that the laundry was still in the dryer. So she put the case record on top of the dryer while she pulled the clothes out, trying to help the CNA. Well, the inspector was there and saw that case record sitting up there, wrote him up. So,
Mm.
and so there's also the Virginia Assisted Living Association called VALA. They have a lot of owners there, and you can reach out to them to find out their standings as well. So there's ways you can look into communities to see how they're doing. Also, all you got to do is go to church and talk to some of the seniors and ask them, does one of your friends go to any of these seniors? And they'll tell you, yeah, I've been there. I visit her. Or show up to their events. They have a lot of open houses. They have
Mhm.
every time there's a holiday, they have a party.
Yep.
And you can go and just have some food, talk to them, but really talk to the residents that are there. They will tell you everything. They don't hold back nothing.
And I
Um,
will, yeah, I'm going to add to, well, one thing I want to add, I know we're talking specifically about Virginia, but, and I've posted this in the group before, but the area on aging agency,
mhm.
that's something that is supposed to be in the United States. Like every
Yeah,
state is supposed
universal.
to
Yeah.
have one.
Yeah.
Now, I
Yeah.
will say, even here in Virginia, it's not always kept up to date. But if you go look up, it's government, regulated. So if you look
Mhm.
that up, you should be able to at least get some information that's out there. Um,
Mhm.
but I would also strongly encourage if you're considering a specific place, pop up.
Mhm.
And I will say this because I worked at a place once, and I will say that they had a system. When they were showing the place, they had a green card that they would flip over on the desk,
Mm.
a green folder, I should say. If that green folder was there, that was a message to everyone there that we had visitors. So be on your top behavior. Everything was
Mm.
clean, everything was smelling
Mm.
good, all that, right? This is something most people wouldn't know if they're just
Right.
coming in and, oh, this is beautiful. Now, the place wasn't bad, but certainly they put on their A game when they knew that people were touring. So I would
Mm.
encourage you, to the best of your ability, if you can pop in, kind of have that element of surprise so you can see the real,
Mhm.
the real deal,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
say that because, it is what it is. There's going to be places that truly take their job serious. It's like any medical profession, right? Like there's people
Mhm.
who take it seriously, but these are our loved ones. So we do want to make sure that they're getting the best care.
Mhm.
But I'm observing, I have to agree with Ms. Retta. I think that's going to be your best bet. And like she
Mhm.
said, things to look out for. Watch what's happening with the other people. Because again, if you're there, they're going to be putting on their best performance, but pay
Mhm.
attention to what's going on around,
Mhm.
around with others. And another thing that I would suggest is if you can visit when it's activity time,
Mhm.
because when it's activities and when they transition from activities to lunch, if the same people who are doing the activities with them are the same people who are also like taking them over to get lunch, find out, are they CNAs? Because it legally, to handle a person who is not able to take care of themselves, to lift them up,
Mhm.
things like that, you're supposed to be a CNA or some type of medical certification. So if
Right,
you see
right.
the same people, we're just trying to share all these tips because we do think, assisted living, memory care, those are good resources, but you want to do your due diligence. And so these are some little things that you can kind of peep,
Mhm.
check out to see
Right.
like, okay. And if you notice, oh, the same person that was just doing activities is the one that's lifting, Mr. Bob up and taking
Mhm.
him over
Yeah.
here, ask them, are you a CNA? Or ask them.
Mhm.
You have that right because
Yeah.
you're thinking
There's
about your loved one being there.
Yeah, there's another thing I would recommend, which I was really impressed by the families. So I had met this family. They said they were paying $9,500 a month for their brother in a memory care facility, and they felt like they were not getting $9,500 worth of service. And so I said, well, let's meet. And he said, I have some other families I want you to meet as well that have loved ones in the memory care facility as well with his brother. And so when I got to the library, because we decided to meet at the library to meet, it was a total of one, two, three, four families. Come to
Wow.
find out, he said what we did was we all realized our family members were residing in the same community, so we became friends. And basically, when one is not there, when the others are not there and one is there, they can always keep an eye out and look out for each other's family members. So I thought that was great. They buddied up. They
Yeah.
and if they saw something they didn't think was kosher, they would call the family and say,
Yep.
hey, they're feeding him too much cheese. He had cheese for breakfast. I came here, they giving him cheese for lunch. They would alert each other. And
Yeah.
that was great having a buddy system, just like, soccer moms. I can't take Joey to soccer tonight. Can you, they buddy up. Can you take him and I'll pick the kids up tonight? So they
Yeah.
buddied up. And so I
Yeah.
thought that was very interesting that they did that and looked out for each other.
Yeah.
Just because, again, it's their family, loved ones, and they can't always be there. And so working that way, they always knew someone had an eye on their loved ones. And I thought that
Yeah.
was very helpful.
And you mentioned it earlier when you were talking about the cost. So, again, it's no
Mhm,
secret that finding quality care
mhm,
in assisted living places, memory care, it's not cheap. But what
mhm,
are
mhm.
some creative things that you've seen for those who are, are watching? What are some
Mhm.
things that a person could think about in order to be able to afford some of these places? What are some creative ways that you've seen people be able to do it?
So there are a couple of things you can do. No, number one, I would say is when we work with families, we regarding their budget, the first thing I ask is, do you have long-term health insurance? If they say no, then I ask them, do they have, has anyone served in the military? The main person or the spouse? Sometimes they may qualify for aid and attendance. It's not the same as veteran benefits. Aid and attendance is different. And so if they have, then we would get them in contact with either Patriots Angels or Elder Financial. Patriots Angels is a company that works with families to help them apply for the aid and attendance. You can get up to, depending on if it's the main person or the spouse, they can get between $2,400 down to like $1,300. And our goal is to decrease as much cost as possible. And so now, say for instance, you have the aid and attendance. Then we look at, do you have a savings? Do you have a pension? Are you receiving Social Security? And so let's say, for instance, you're receiving about $3,000 a month, but you also may qualify for military benefits. Let's just say, let's go on the low end, 1,300. So now, let's say, for instance, you get approved for that. Now you're at $4,300. So now we're
Mhm.
looking at, do you have any savings? If you have savings, we want to look at a community based on our estimated budget. Let's try to keep you as low. I'm trying to keep you as low as possible. So a community for memory care, depending on the location, we try to go for a flat rate. If they don't have long-term health insurance and they don't have enough to cover for like $6,000, $7,000 a month, we can try and find something at about $4,500 a month,
Mm.
right? That's memory care, it's a flat rate, but it also depends on your level. What stage are you at with your dementia? If you are a flight risk, then we can't do the 4,500.
Yeah.
But if you are not a flight risk, then we can look at the 4,500. But if you are a flight risk, then we have to look at a secured facility where then that means more eyes on you and that the cost goes up a little bit and usually about up to about $6,000. So again, you're at about, for instance, we said what, for 4,000 $300, right? Well,
Mhm.
because you had 3,000 you're getting per month, plus say for instance, you qualify for aid and attendance at 1,300. So that's
Right.
$4,300. So then we're looking at your savings. Do you have any savings? And we do a 10-year budget. And say, for instance, it is at $6,000. So now you need $1,700, right? So we need to do the math of the 1,700. Are we doing it from your savings? Are we doing it from any investments you have that you can cash out? Do you have a life insurance that you can sell? We want to look
Mhm.
at that. Some of them may have life insurance and didn't know they could sell it.
Mm.
Also, do you own a house? If you own a house, a lot of people, first thing they brace themselves, let me guess, I got to sell it. No, you don't have to sell it. um, I don't, that's not my first choice, because you might want to keep it in the family. It might have history. And so I asked them, do you outright own the house? Do you have a mortgage on it, or are you just paying property taxes? If they own the house outright, then we say, okay, let's talk to a real estate agent and see if they have a property manager. I do know property managers, but if it depending on the location, if they have a property manager, let's look at how much you can get for rental. Rent
Mm.
your community and hire a property manager to manage the property for you. They will collect the rent. They will monitor the home and make sure that no one is going in there tearing it up. They'll come and inspect it for you like every 3 months or so. They'll, you want to keep the house intact because you can't do it. And so get a property manager to collect the rent and look at how much the going rent is. My understanding is rent is high compared to buying a
Mm.
house right now. And
Yeah.
so the jobs, people are already complaining about they can't afford to buy a house out here and they got the jobs, but they can't move out here. And so if you can rent out your home and use some of that money towards the assisted living. Let's just say we're adding about $1,200 to that. So now we're up to $5,500, right? And you still
Mhm.
need an additional 500. So now we
Yeah.
have to start looking at, will there be any family members contributing? Sometimes they can, sometimes they cannot, but it's just $500. Do they
Mm.
have family members that can do that? Or um, we have to look at now, if they really just can't do it, let's talk about the sale of the house. How much can you get for the house? They need to do an appraisal to determine that, and how far can we get out on that? If it's like 200,000, $300,000 from that, we do another 10-year budget. But again, we've already gotten it down to 4,300. So all they need right now for to get up to 6,000 is $1,700. That
Mm.
means that if you sell your house for 400, $500,000, and once you pay off the settlements and everything, you're walking away with 3,500, 3,500, well,
Mm.
$300,500. Um, you it's going to last a little bit longer. But
Yeah.
again, we want to keep them in the $6,000 range. When you start shooting up towards 9,000, 8,000, $9,000 range, your money starts going faster. And so we're looking for communities. And again, I keep telling people, don't look for the shiny, pretty stuff. Look for the quality of care. Some of these small facilities do excellent work, excellent,
Yeah.
give excellent care, excellent service. So don't brush them off because they don't have floor to ceiling windows. Um, because I'm telling you, you want the
You
care.
want care. Yeah. Yeah.
You want quality of care.
Now, I have heard people talk about Medicaid. And what I've
Mhm,
heard some people do, they've worked with an attorney,
mhm,
typically like an elder or family
mhm,
law, and they've
mhm.
been able to kind of finagle things to where they move a lot of like
The money.
assets
Mhm,
and things like that to
mhm.
maybe a family member, something like that, to where now their loved one qualifies for Medicaid. And from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, with that Medicaid, I don't know if it's like completely free or if it's like significantly reduced. So
Okay.
is
So
yeah, what's the
let
what's the feedback on that?
let's go back for a minute. You talking about Medicaid. How do you qualify for it? You have to be very careful because Medicaid has caught on that people are transferring their money over to trust and things like that to look like they have no money. So what they're doing now is they have a threshold. They go as far back as 5 years. to see how
Ah,
much income you've had. And when did that income just all of a sudden become to zero? Okay.
right.
It's I don't know, it's gone, poof, and so no,
Yeah,
Medicaid and the states have caught on that families are moving money around so they can
yeah,
qualify. And so, like I said, if they go back 5 years and catch on, you had some money. They want to look at your taxes. They want to see everything. So that's the first thing you got to be careful. Okay, how you're moving that money around. Secondly, again, there are facilities you can get into that you can afford and you can live out your life comfortably, right? But
yeah,
families are always saying, well, all these facilities are expensive. Well, which one are you looking at? Are you looking at the 12,000? Are you looking at the 5,000? Are you looking at the 6,000? Are you looking at the 15? You can't go to one place and
yeah,
think that's how much all of them cost. And that's unfortunate that some case managers have been doing that. Hospital discharge planners have been doing that because they get in contact with one facility. And so everyone's being referred to that one facility, and that one facility is charging $12,000 a month.
yep,
And
yeah.
so
Because they
you start,
can, right?
right. And the
Yeah,
sad part is, you remember years ago when we were seeing people selling their homes to afford health care?
yeah,
Remember, the wife was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, and the husband sold the house, everything
mhm,
to pay those bills to keep her alive.
yeah,
Well, that can happen when you're putting them in a place that does not balance with what their budgets are. And
yeah.
I've seen that. The saddest thing I saw was where actually this happened with a sales representative. She took in a facility. I won't say the name of it. And she said her grandmother was 102 years old, and they told her she had to move out when she ran out of money. Now,
Wow.
I don't know if y'all recall whatever happened to customer loyalty.
Right.
Remember, if you spent a certain amount of money, they would give you discounts and specials and rebates and all that good stuff. It seems to me the more you pay, the less they treat you nicely. There's no
Yeah,
such thing as customer loyalty anymore. And so
yeah.
I think that's unfortunate. And so when she told me they had to relocate her grandmother from that facility into another location at 102, my heart dropped. And I knew for a fact the facility that she had went to, they started at $12,000 a month.
Wow.
So I knew that no one sat down with her and went through a budget to see how can we make this money stretch.
Yeah.
12,000, that's $120,000 a year.
Wow.
No, that's even more than that, right? Do the math, y'all.
Look,
104,
look,
140,
don't ask me to do the math. But yeah, you're right.
yeah, it's
You're
like
right.
$144,000 a year. If you
Wow.
sold your house at 300,000, you only got 3 good years in that building, in that
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there sweating like ducats. And you done
Yeah.
ran through this money.
Yeah.
And
And so
so,
what that tells me, I think, again, for those, participating in this or watching this back, and I talk about this all the time, we need to start being more proactive from the very beginning.
mhm,
And, this is just a kind of side point, but very important. When your loved one first gets diagnosed, even with mild cognitive impairment, that's usually the
mhm,
first diagnosis that you will get. So
mhm,
many times, loved ones are like, oh, good, it's not dementia. And they do nothing. Now, not
mhm,
all the time. With certain things, it could be something else going on, but usually that cognitive impairment is kind of like, I always tell people, it's kind of like getting a pre-diabetic diagnosis. If you
mhm,
get diagnosed with pre-diabetes, if you continue with the same behavior, you make no changes, you will get diabetes, right?
mhm.
And
Right.
so that's what I like to share with people when it comes to those early stages. It's hard, and I get it. We went through that, and you want to believe this can't be true. Sometimes you don't know what it means, but in the very
Mhm,
beginning, as early as possible, start making long-term plans. Number one, you want to keep your loved one active, but you do need to start thinking about when that time comes. where this disease, it could be 3 years, it could be 10 years. But at some point, the right now, the disease will have a certain eventuality, right? It's going to
Mm-hmm.
cause
They're going to
decline.
plateau.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
going to mean that you may not be able to take care of your loved one and maintain the quality of life and health for them and you. So my
Mm-hmm.
encouragement, like Miss Retta was saying, Medicaid folk, they're going to look back 5 years. So start the process. If you're thinking I need to have as much, you know, assets as
Mm-hmm.
possible, start making those moves right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's the time to talk to financial advisors, to attorneys. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, get the POAs in place. And do it because
Definitely get those in place.
yeah,
Definitely get
because
those
that's
in place.
also the time when you can talk to your loved one and find out
Mm-hmm.
some of their wishes, right? Even
Yep.
and it may be hard
Yep.
for them to digest it, but not having the conversation is going to be worse for
Mm-hmm.
everyone in the long run. So I think
And-
that's a good thing to think about, and I'm
Mhm.
glad you shared that piece about the
Mhm.
Medicaid because it just emphasizes start
And
planning early.
yeah, and I also want to say for those who automatically qualify for Medicaid, there are skilled nursing facilities. Now, let me explain what that is. Um, y- you heard the word nursing homes? Well, they changed them to skilled nursing facilities. One side will be the nursing home side where residents can stay, and the other side will be for rehab. Say, for instance, you had a knee replacement, a hip replacement, you fell and hurt yourself. They will bring you in there and you will stay no more than 100 days, and you're going through rehabilitation to get yourself back up and moving, right? So they call it skilled nursing facility. Um, what I've noticed is that in the skilled nursing, yes, they accept Medicaid. A large percentage of them accept Medicaid for memory care, not for assisted living. There, no. In skilled nursing, it is
Mhm.
only memory care, and they will accept Medicaid. Some facilities, in Manassas, they have a facility in Manassas, health and rehab, and there is one in Fredericksburg I know accepts Medicaid. Not all of them do. A lot, you will be surprised. This is a money-making industry. Don't ever think it's all for the cause. This is a billion-dollar industry. And so you will notice that a lot of these skilled nursing or nursing home are private companies. They are not county run. They are not state run. They are not federal operated. They are not getting federal dollars. They, except for the Medicaid part, they
Yeah.
are privately funded companies.
Mm.
And those investors are looking for returns. And we notice that we'll start getting these phone calls from case managers asking us to find placements for their clients. And I asked them, um, how will they be able to pay? Oh, they're on Medicaid. Well, in the state of Virginia, in this side of town, there's not a lot of assisted living communities that accept Medicaid. What they do is some of them, it's a very small handful, what they'll do is accept the person under private pay until they run out of money, and then they will accept the Medicaid. And they do this thing called a spend down.
I've
And
heard of that.
basically, they'll take your money first off the top, and then
Yeah.
whatever the delta is, then Medicaid will cover it. Okay.
Yeah.
But you got to qualify for that. You have to
Yeah.
qualify.
Well, Miss Retta, you have given us, I know I always try to respect the hour because I know that caregivers are busy, busy, busy. Before
Mhm.
we close out, I do want to just ask again if there's any questions for Miss Retta, any comments. I'll give a pause moment for that. Um, I see someone. Was there a question? Okay. So, Miss Retta, if you can put your information down there in the comments before we sign
Okay.
off, and as you're doing that, if there are any final thoughts, recommendations that you want to leave to our caregivers, word of encouragement, advice, tips that you want to share that, as we sign off.
Um, oh, you're welcome, Maria. I hope I was able to give as much information as possible to get you motivated. to help your family members because them being at home, sitting still and watching TV is not going to help. I have a lady, a client once who her husband was an engineer, right?
Mm,
And I could tell this man was very smart. And the reason why is because he knew that it ran in his family, dementia.
mm-hmm,
And he had started showing early decline of it. His sister also has it, right?
mm,
Very smart man. I could tell because he made sure he had long-term health insurance put in place. He made sure he had savings. He had everything. And his wife was a school teacher. And
mm,
so they, like you said, you got to stay active. They play pickleball. I'm not a
mm-hmm.
fan of pickleball because the way the ball pops, it just bothers me. But they play pickleball all the time. And
Yeah,
so he made sure I could tell he had did all of this before he really went to like a stage 5, I would say.
yeah,
And the wife was really struggling with trying to figure out what's the best type of care to get him into. And she was a retired school teacher. And so every time we went and looked at a community, she said, well, where's the curriculum?
mm,
And I said, the curriculum? Because normally the activities director will have 30 days of activities for them. Each day they'll have 4 to 5 different bingo,
yep,
sewing, movies, walks, gardening, people coming in singing for them, activities. She was
yeah.
looking for a curriculum. And
I
she,
love it.
everywhere we went, she would say, where is the curriculum?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I kept, and after a while, I was visual. I said, "Did she think they're going to sit in a classroom and a workshop in memory care?" And she said, "Well, we're going to keep playing pickleball.
mm,
I think he'll be fine doing that." And I could tell, like I said, he was at about a stage 4 or 5, and I said, "The longer you wait, the farther he's going to go." And he is not getting the care he really needs because when you're in these communities, they slow down the rate of decline
yeah,
because they're doing all these activities. They've actually put these activities together, designed them to help them with their memory. You'll
yeah,
see a lot of dolls. There's a lot of dolls, and there's a lot of stuffed cats that make a really sound like real cats and real babies. They
yeah,
cry like I'm always turning because I baby, they sound real. And
yeah,
some of them look really real too. And
yeah,
so I say that because she's like, I'm not going to put him in until he's completely, she said this, I'm not putting him in until he's completely gone. Well,
yeah,
at that point, he wouldn't even qualify to go into memory care. He would
yeah,
have to go straight into a nursing home
yeah,
where they would feed him, clean him every day. Where then right now he's playing pickleball and they
yeah,
could be working with that and
yeah.
slow down the
The
movement of
decline.
this
Yeah,
dementia. Yeah, the decline.
you really can.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, so I tell people don't wait. Don't sit there thinking, oh well, no, I'm not doing this to my family. I'm thinking that you're hurting them. You're actually hurting them, keeping them where they are because they're not getting the stimulation that they really need to keep going because no
yeah,
one's talking to them. You got them in front of a TV. That TV's not talking back to them. You know,
yep,
you're getting, and I see at times, and it's not, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I can tell, like kids, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And after a while, it gets on your nerves, and you
yeah,
start snapping at them. All
yeah,
right, and I'm looking at this nice lady has now just snapped at him.
yeah,
Well, he has dementia.
yeah,
And has not, I can tell she hasn't taken a class to understand this fully
yeah.
because she
Even
said
when you do
we're gonna
know,
play.
I will say, even when you understand and are educated, it can be challenging still,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
But I do want to wrap it up because
Okay, yeah.
I try to stay within the hour. But Miss Retta, this has been valuable information. We've got a couple comments in there. Appreciate the
Mhm.
information you provided. Thank you for leaving your contact information. And for those of you all who are in the Facebook group, Miss Retta is also in that group. So you can always tag her if you have a question, reach out. Again, we mentioned things that are specific to the Virginia region, but a lot of these things are across the board. So, again, thank you so much. Our heart continues to be with you in this journey, and we'll see you next month for our next virtual support group. And take care of yourselves. Oh, you're so welcome. I love the comments in there.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, absolutely. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone. How do I go out?
I'm going to end
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, bye.